2, 1, go.
Good afternoon, class. I'm Miss Msanje. I will take you in civics, grade 9. You are welcome to this class. And today we are going to look at trade, a new topic which is trade. So we are going to look at trade. We need to understand what trade is. So trade can be defined as buying and selling of goods and services. Trade can be defined as selling and buying of goods and services. Let me just write the definition on the board. Okay, we are saying trade is the buying and selling of goods and services. We need to know these goods and services. We need to understand what goods are and what services are. Goods are material things wanted by human beings. Goods are material things wanted by human beings. And these goods can be touched or seen. Services. What about services? Services are non-material things, and these cannot be seen or cannot be touched. These services cannot be seen or touched. Only their effects can be felt. For example, when we are hungry, we take food. When we fall sick, we take medicines. When we start, we use books. Here I'm using a marker and also some papers. All these are examples of goods which satisfy some of our wants. All these things which satisfy human wants are called goods. When you go to the markets, or when you go to shopping malls, markets, whatever you find there, what is sold there, those are goods. Everything that is sold in shopping malls are goods. They are physical things. You can see them and also touch them. However, once for example, haircut, mending of shoes, studying in a school or college are not satisfied by these goods. These are satisfied by services, and these services are performed by other people. For example, what I'm doing here, I'm teaching. Teaching is a service. So I'm offering to a service. When you go to a barber shop for haircut, what you are being offered there is a service, and you need to pay for that service. Okay, so some of our wants are satisfied by goods and some by services. All the human wants can be satisfied by goods and services. I'm sure you have understood the meaning of trade. Okay. So these goods, we are saying selling and buying of goods. These goods must be transported from one place to another. The goods must be transported from one place to another. So these two things, they work together. Goods and services work together. For these goods to be moved from one place to another, they need a service, which is transportation. Okay, So now we are saying this trade has not started today. It started a long time ago, before money was invented. Today, using money, trade can be carried out within a country or between countries. Trade which takes place within the country is called domestic trade or local trade. There is also another trade which takes place between countries, and it's called international trade. It can also be called external trade or foreign trade. Okay, let me just write something on the board. Trade which takes place within the country is called local trade, which is also called domestic trade. And then trade which takes place between countries is called foreign, also called external trade or international trade. Okay, now let's look at how these goods, the goods that are produced, how do they move from one place, from the place of production to the end consumers, to the customers, the end beneficiaries? How do they move? So we are going to look at these stages involved in the chain of distribution. So let's look at the chain of distribution, because when these goods are produced, they need to be taken somewhere, because the main purpose is to eat those goods or use them. How do they move from the place of production to the customers or the consumers? Let's look at the chain of distribution. The chain of distribution. The chain of distribution is also called the channel of distribution. Also called the channel of involves stages. So we're going to look at these stages. So the chain of distribution or channel of distribution can be defined as the route goods take in reaching the consumers. The routes goods take in reaching the consumers. Okay, let me write the definition on the board. A chain of distribution is the route goods take in reaching the consumers. Or the producers to consumers, and this is often done by the wholesalers and also retailers. Let's look at these stages. So the first stage in the chain of distribution is the producer. So you have the, let me just list them. So these are the stages that are involved in the channel of distribution. Let's look at these stages or steps one by one. So the root goods taken reaching the consumers. Let's start with the producers. The producers, who are the producers? Who are the producers? So we are saying these people, the producers produce raw materials. They produce raw materials. Produce or make so the producers produce raw materials from the environment. Let me give an example of a farmer. A farmer is a producer. A farmer is a producer. For example, what are some of the things that the farmers produce? Let me give an example of maize. Maize is a raw material which is produced by the farmers. So we are saying these people produce raw materials, for example, through farming or mining. And then these people, it's a chain. So when they produce, they sell their products to the manufacturers. When they produce their products, they sell them to the manufacturers. But these producers can also sell to the wholesalers. Okay. Products to the goods that they manufacturers. What is the function of these manufacturers? What do they do? So the manufacturers, we are saying they turn the goods the raw materials that are produced by the producers. They turn them into finished goods. So they change these raw materials into other products. Okay. So these are industries. These are industries that turn raw materials into other products. They change raw materials into other products. For example, let's say a farmer who is a producer produces maize, and that maize will be turned into another product, which is milling meal. For example, milling meal. Wheat can be turned into flour, which is used to bake. So these people, we are saying they change raw materials into finished goods, into usable goods. And they sell their products to the wholesalers. These manufacturers, after turning those raw materials into finished goods, they sell their products to the retailers. Okay, but sometimes they also sell direct to the consumers. Okay, let's go to the third one. The third one, which is wholesalers. Okay, wholesalers. Who is a wholesaler? So you're saying a wholesaler is a merchandiser who purchases goods and then sell them to buyers, mostly retailers, for the purpose of resale. So these people, the wholesalers, they purchase goods from the manufacturers on large quantities. So the wholesalers, we are saying, they buy goods on a large scale from producers. They can also buy from these. They can also buy from the producers. They can buy from the manufacturers. So for this, they buy goods on a large scale. So they do not direct sell to the customers or the consumers, but supply to the retailers. So these people, the wholesalers, they do not sell direct to the consumers because some of the consumers are unable to buy goods on large quantities. So these people, when they buy, they break down those products into smaller quantities. Okay. So you are saying wholesalers buy goods on a large scale. Okay, let me write this. So these are merchandisers who purchase goods and then sell them to buyers. And these buyers are the retailers. To the buyers, mostly mostly the retailers. Okay, so these people, the wholesalers, we are saying they do not direct sell to the consumers, but they supply to the retailers. Who are the retailers? Those people you see when you go to the markets, the shop owners, the marketeers, all those are retailers. Okay, so we are saying they often purchase products in large quantities. They purchase products on large quantities. And then sell smaller quantities of each product to the retailers who are unable to either buy or stock large amounts. We are saying they buy in large quantities, then sell smaller quantities of each product to the retailers who are unable to buy in stock. Okay. For example, let me give an example of a wholesaler. So we are saying, for example, a wholesaler might purchase, let's say, 4,000 boxes of biscuits. 4,000 boxes of biscuits. This is a wholesaler now who has bought 4,000 boxes of biscuits, and then sell 100, for example, sell, let's say for 1,000, since here we have 4,000, 1,000 to 40 different retailers. Okay, so this is an example of these wholesalers. They purchase on large quantities and then sell smaller quantities of each product to retailers who are unable to either buy or stock large amounts of the products. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, let me not rub this. Quantities, and then we have the. Who are these retailers? Who is a retailer? So we are saying a retailer is a merchandiser who sells goods to consumers. They sell goods in smaller quantities. So when you go to the market, you even find sugar. For wholesalers, they sell cases. They sell cases of sugar, but for the retailers, they sell in smaller quantities. For example, sugar for 1 kwacha. You can find sugar for 1 kwacha. So these retailers do not manufacture their own items. They purchase goods from a wholesaler. They also purchase from the manufacturers and sell these goods to consumers in small quantities, in smaller quantities. Okay, let me write something on this. So, retailers are merchandisers who sell goods to consumers, to consumers. They sell goods in smaller quantities. In smaller quantities. And the examples of these people, I've already given you the examples of these retailers. We are saying the marketeers, street vendors, even shop owners. All those are examples of retailers who sell goods in smaller quantities. And the last stage in the chain of distribution are the consumers. The consumers.
So at the household level, we are saying that the family must allow the same school opportunity.
The consumers. So the consumers, these are the end beneficiaries. When you look at this channel of distribution, the first stage here, we are talking of the producers, but the end beneficiaries are the consumers, us who buy those goods. So who are these consumers? We are saying these are people who buy goods from retailers, people who buy goods or services for consumption and not to resell. Okay, so these are people who buy goods. So you are saying these are people who buy goods in smaller goods. They buy goods and services in smaller quantities for consumption and not for resale. In smaller quantities for consumption and not for resale. Their main purpose is not to buy those goods to resell. Their main purpose of buying these goods is for consumption. Okay. So we are saying the main purpose of all the links, the main purpose of all the links in the chain of distribution is to supply goods to consumers who are the end beneficiaries. So the main purpose of all these links is to supply goods to the consumers who are the end beneficiaries. Okay. So we've come to the end of the lesson. Explain the stage of distribution. Explain the stages involved in the chain of distribution. So this is the end of the lesson for today. And next time when we meet, we are going to look at local and international trade. We are going to look at local and international trade. See you next time.
So it is take care of it. Therefore, do not allow any, do not allow any child, any person, even at your age mate, do not allow them to touch you in the way you don't want. Because
Good afternoon, grade 9. Today's lesson we're going to look at, okay. So, we're
mention two ways
then next week we are going to look at sin and so on. Division. Okay. So, division and hatred. That's why we're going to causes of division between people. We're going to look at a number of them. We're going to look at selfishness. So there's selfishness, the selfish, poor leadership, tribalism, greed, theft, favoritism, corruption, that take place, or the causes of division between people, the causes between the causes of division activities, discrimination. And I'll just try and categories of people, especially on the ground of race, age, and also disability in some cases. Okay, so discrimination is the unjust. So is It's the unjust treatment of different categories on the ground of race, age, and disability. Just treatment of different categories of people, especially in the case of race. Someone will be albinos. They'll be treated differently from the others, and the people are discriminated because of their age. Okay, and not their fault. It's just nature, and they are discriminated over exploitation. Exploitation is the action of making use of. Exploitation is the action of treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work. Okay, so that is exploitation. Yeah. Treat someone in order to benefit. In order to position, and they want to exploit others because of your big position. So that is one between people. Okay, then there's also selfishness. Selfishness, the quality or state of being selfish, lack of consideration for others. Consideration towards. So where you find that everything has to belong to you alone. You don't want to consider others, that they also need a person. So selfishness also brings division between people. Okay. So the last point, the last one is pride. From what I've picked, pride. Okay. Or wealth, power, and food is an intense food. Okay, so those are some of the things that bring up division between people. Okay, so discrimination, and yeah, so I chose 4 because of time. I chose just the theft, deceit, what's this? Favorism, corruption, and discrimination. To look at some of the activities that countries, division between countries. So fight over them is one of them is where minerals. So
the purchases, we looked at the sales, we looked at the returns, and the returns outwards. So today's topic is on the cash book. It's one of the books of original entry, also known that have been paid out and also paid in through cash only. So a cash book is a document where we record that, sorry for that, that had paid out. So bear in mind, we are talking about a cash book. So the cash book has got a layout that resembles a ledger. So ledgers are going to be discussed as we go further. So a cash book has got a layout that resembles the ledger. It has got the date column. It has got the details. It has got the folio. It also has the amount column. So initially, this is how of cash books. The first one is for the types. So the first one is the 1 column cash book. The second one, the 2 column, and the last one is the 3 column cash book. So that's where we record. It's got 2 columns. The first column is the cash column, where transactions that have taken place and paid. The 3 column cash book. The 3 column cash book has got the cash column, the bank column, and the allowed part, where it receives a discount from the supplier that is known as discount received. So we come back to the 1 column cash book. So this is our 1 column. So this is how a 1 column cash book has to appear. We have the date column. We have the, and then we have the amount column. So when we look at the amount, this is the left side, this is the right side. So according to time you carry out a transaction, the date on which that transaction, we come to the details column is with. So your customer or supplier's name has to appear in the cash book. Then you know with whom that transaction took place with on that particular date. And when you come to the folio column, there are some source documents that have got numbers. For example, an invoice number, so like receipt or invoice or quotation. You will first go and look for the number, then you know on which page that document is on. And then we come to the record amounts that have been received in that business. This side is where we record been paid out. This is where we record the ledger's topic. The left side is commonly known as the debit side, and the right side is commonly known as the appear. So let's try to record transaction in our 1 column cash book, and then we see how to balance off the transactions, and we see how transactions are balanced off. So I have a question with me here on the transactions that we are to record in the 1 column cash book. Because it's a cash book, remember we are only dealing with transactions that were either received or paid out through cash. We are not talking about check, we are not talking about any electronic money transfer, but we're talking about hard cash. That's why it's known as the 1 column cash book. So my question here is 15,000 cash in hand. So this statement has given us the date. Remember, we talked about the importance of a date when recording money in the cash book. We said the cash book is part of one of those books that are found under the books of original entry. And today we are now starting our topic of the cash book. So the first question is 1st January 2020 started the business with 15,000 cash in hand. So automatically this statement is telling us to say the money is in our hands. It is in our cash book. So it's going to be on the left side because we said the left side, this is where we record money that has been received. So January first. When we come to businesses and some statements that come out like started the business with 15,000, automatically for every business to be established, there's what we call capital. So every money you use to begin your business with is known as a capital. So since they have told us to say started business with 15,000, that statement written business automatically means capital. So in the details column, we are going to indicate capital because that's the money that was invested in that business. On the left, and paid cash 2,000. So goods were bought on the 6th of January and cash was paid out of 2,000. Remember, we come back to the left and right side. We said the right side is where we record transactions of monies that have been paid out. So January 6th. The reason why I have written purchases because that's the activity that took place. So purchases of goods, 6,000 was paid out. So it's going to fall on the right side. We come to the third question. It reads 16th, received 3,000 from Aka on his account. We received 3,000 from Aka on his account. That's on the 16th of January. Sorry. The amount is 3,000. We come back to how we record the transactions, either in the left or right side. Remember, the left side is money received, the right side is money paid out. So we move to the other question. It says, paid account. Sold goods for cash. The statement there is to say the goods that we had in our stock were sold out. So automatically money is coming into our account because we sold those goods. The date is January 24th. The activity is sold for 4,000. We move to the next question. Paid 60 kwacha for stationery purchased. So the question here is saying we paid 60 kwacha for stationery purchased. We are giving out because we have paid. So automatically the 60 kwacha is going to appear on the right side, and the activity that took place involved stationery. So January 25th in the details column, we move to the next question. On the 30th, paid salaries to the value of 1,000. So we are paying out, remember, always keep in mind with the columns that are receiving and paying out. So on the 30th, January 30th, the activity that took place were salaries to the value of 1,000. We move to our last question. Bought furniture For cash, 2,000. So we bought furniture. For cash, 2,000. The reason why the statement is saying bought, that's the activity that took place. So in the details, we are going to put furnitures. Remember, we are paying out because we bought. So once you buy, money is always sent out. 2,000. So for that particular month or week, once you are done recording every transaction that took place in that financial period, you are supposed to balance off the cash book. That's how you close your business and know your financial position. So it is very important to have a calculator. As at now, I do not have. So we're going to do some actual calculations. So how to balance off an account? In this case, a cash book. So how does one balance off an account? Once you have added all the amounts from both sides separately, the biggest amount is always placed in the total column. This is what we call the total row, the total row or the total columns. And then the difference from what is found from the smaller side of the column is what you place on that particular side of where it is weighing the least. So we are going to do some manual calculations. So for the left side, we have 15,000, 3,000, 4,000. These are the only transactions that took place and recorded in the left side. And we come to the right side. We have 6,000, 1,000, 60, kwacha, 1,000, and 2,000. So first we'll start with the left side. 0, 0, 0. We have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So come to the right side. We have 0 there. We have 6. We have 0. We have 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we look at these figures, which amount is more bigger? The left side, of course. So because the left side is bigger, we'll place it in the total column side. So we are going to find the difference. How do we find the difference? We are going to deduct the 10,060 kwacha from the 22,000. So I will just leave that there. So with those with calculators, they'll easily find the difference. So how do we find the difference? Our difference there will be, that's our difference. So where do we place the difference there? We will place the difference on the side where it weighs the least. On the side where it weighs the least, that's where we're going to place our difference. So when balancing off, you will put the difference there. So this has been carried down and then brought down. And then you are done for that financial period. Then you will know to say, okay, this is how much that has remained in our bank account. So we balance off the cash book to know how much money has remained in our bank account. Every bank account is assisted with a cash book in every organization. As we go further, we are going to look at more types of books of original entry that have to do with calculations and knowing the financial position of any business. So we have talked about the cash book. We said it is a document where we record only transactions that have been received and paid out through cash. We talked about the types of cash books. We have 1-column cash book, 2-column cash book, 3-column cash book. But our main interest today was on the 1-column cash book. The 1-column cash book only deals with the cash column. So that's the cash column because it only dealt with transactions in that particular month or week that we're dealing with payments that were made in cash. But if we move to the 2-column cash book, payments that are going to be made through the bank are going to be involved in the 2-column cash book. And this is how the layout of a cash book looks like. A cash book must always have the date. It must always have details. It must always have folio, and it must always have the amount column. In that amount column, under every amount column, be it the cash column, be it the bank column or the discount column, it always has the left and the right side. Remember, the left side always deals with money received. The right side always deals with money paid out. And then as you start in that month, remember the date always indicates the day on which that transaction took place. Details always deals with whom that transaction took place. You cannot run a business without knowing your business partner's name. So the folio also deals with invoice numbers at the left and the right side. So this is where we end for today as the grade 9 class. Your teacher here has been Teacher Mdenda. If there are any questions, I am free to have them now.